Okay, and we're live.
It's not 5:15.
Yep, you can just wait a minute.
Hey, Sherry, there's an awful lot of feedback coming through. I wonder if it's because.
Yeah.
I was going to say that too.
I don't know what it is. I've got nothing on. Weird, eh?
You have your laptop and your computer on, right?
Yep.
What happens if you move your laptop away from your computer a little bit?
I have nowhere to put it.
I just want to see if that works.
Is that better?
No, same thing.
All right, we will call the Committee of Adjustment meeting for the Township of Selwyn of Tuesday, February the 23rd to order. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of the committee, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none, can we please have that noted? And Jeanette, we have an information piece on the LPAT decision, PL 200130. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes, thank you. So this, if you recall, it was an application that did go to the LPAT this past summer. The applicant was looking to decrease the minimum setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 26.8 meters. And that was in order to screen in a deck. And so I have attached the decision to this report. Then you will note that the tribunal did allow the appeal and that the variance was authorized. So just to give you just a quick overview of the report, I've noted that we consider the proposed screen room to be a permanent structure as it requires a foundation that's capable of supporting a wall, a floor, and a roof, and they would have to be connected properly to an existing foundation or to a foundation. When we look at these applications, we considered an uncovered deck by definition to be structurally non-permanent. That's an important distinction that we make in the official plan and zoning bylaw as it relates to regulations for development within the 30-meter setback from the high water mark. Our policies do not permit variances that would accommodate an expansion of a structurally permanent nature if they further reduce the 30-meter setback. So in order, if we were to consider that decks are structurally permanent, then we could no longer consider minor variances that would allow a deck to be expanded into the 30-meter setback. And conversely, we wouldn't be able to consider them to be structurally permanent. So any effort to convert an existing deck into something that's structurally permanent would not be permitted if it would further reduce the 30-meter setback. So this is sort of the way we've been reviewing these applications since 2008. As we noted, the planning evidence at the LPAT hearing was focused on whether or not this deck should be structurally permanent or whether it's considered non-structurally permanent. Unfortunately, the LPAT decision does not address this notion, and I have provided a couple of quotes from the decision itself that clearly illustrates that the tribunal did not render a decision based on whether or not this deck was structurally permanent or not. So we have reviewed the decision and we have taken a look at it, and we believe that the scope of the construction, as detailed in the decision, must guide the design of the proposed structure. In other words, the sunroom has to be constructed using the existing structure without any site alterations. And this scenario, we will not see this too often because it'll be very difficult for the additional load to be that would be created with the construction of a roof, and for that to occur without any sort of alterations to the site in order to have a more robust foundation to be constructed. We also asked the question of Ed Berlis, who was the lawyers that was at the LPAT with the township, and we asked them as it relates to the decision whether or not if this decision is precedent setting. And the lawyer has provided us with information related to other decisions that were made either at the LPAT or the Ontario Municipal Board. And although these decisions can be persuasive in nature, they are not considered precedent setting. So in other words, when we make decisions in the future, or when decisions are made by the Committee of Adjustment in the future, they're not bound to follow this decision. Ed Berlis also went so far as to recommend the township consider amending the zoning bylaw in order to provide for greater clarity within the 30-meter setback as it relates to structures that are permanent or non-permanent in nature. And I will be bringing forward some refinements to the definition of in our bylaws in the upkeeping housekeeping amendment for township council's consideration. So if you have any questions related to this decision, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, colleagues? It's good to see that you're going to redefine the deck for structurally non-permanent with an amendment. Glad to hear that. Thank you. All right. Will you please, Jeanette, now announce the purpose of the meeting?
Okay, thank you. The Committee of Adjustment is holding this public hearing in accordance with Section 45 of the Planning Act as amended in order to consider applications for relief from the Township Zoning Bylaw, which is the Zoning Bylaw 2009-021. The prescribed notices of public meetings are provided by prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 60-meter radius of the subject properties. Ministries and agencies were circulated by email and fax, and the subject properties were also posted with the sign advertising the public hearing. The notices are also available on the township's website. This notice circulation complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. In order to be notified of the decision of the Township of Selwyn on a minor variance application, a written request must be made to the township. So the first application that we'll be hearing tonight is file number A-4820. The owners of the property are John and Teresa Resendez, and the agent is Marco Vieira, and the address is 3116 Spring Lane North in the Smith Ward. Give me a moment, sorry. So this application is seeking to reduce the setback from the high water mark from 30 meters to 13.5 meters in order to allow for a second-story addition to the existing dwelling. So I have completed a review of the application, and I have noted that it meets with the purpose and intent of the township's official plan and zoning bylaw. The variance is desirable for the appropriate development of use of land, building, or structure, and the proposed variance is minor in nature. And I have recommended that the committee grant the variance. Since the report was filed, we have received comments from the Ministry of Transportation, who have no issues. We received comments from ORCA, the Conservation Authority. They have identified that a permit is required, and they recommend that a planting plan be completed. And we also received comments from Peterborough Public Health, which indicated that a permit is required.
Thank you. I understand that the agent, Marco Vieira, is with us tonight in support of this application. Do you have anything you wish to add, sir?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Marco Vieira. I'm just basically a brief summary of what we're trying to do. It's a small addition over part of the existing one-story dwelling. It's essentially creating a bedroom and a bathroom onto part of the existing house. We are not changing the existing setbacks. It's to the side, northeast side of the existing addition. So the addition isn't coming any closer to the water line, but it does maintain its existing setbacks. And currently, the way the house is articulated on the lot, we don't have that 30-meter setback required. So I asked the committee to consider that and consider the approval of the application.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vieira. Deputy Clerk, is there anyone else that was in favor or opposed to this application?
We have no one else here to speak to this application.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Donna?
Yes, through you to Jeanette. A second-story dwelling, if it happened to extend farther than the setback of the base structure, would that be approved?
No, the setback is ground to sky. So if it was to extend further or encroach further into the high watermark setback, I wouldn't provide a positive recommendation.
So ground to sky is an industry standard, shall we say?
It's the way the bylaws word it, Donna.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to A4920, please.
Thank you. The property owner is Bill Gadd and the agent is Ian Nichols, and the property is 2542 Fire Route 37 in the Smith Ward. The application is seeking to increase the maximum lot coverage of accessory structures from 5% to 10.4%, as well as to decrease the minimum front yard setback from 7.5 meters to 3.9 meters. They're seeking these variances in order to construct a detached garage. The property has a number of topographic issues or challenges, which really has provided us with this only area to construct this detached garage. Therefore, I do believe that the minor variance does meet with the purpose and intent of the township's official plan and zoning bylaw. As well, the variance is desirable for the appropriate development or use of land, building, or structure, and the proposed variance is minor in nature. And I have recommended that the variances be granted. We have received comments from Ministry of Transportation and Peterborough Public Health, who have no objections to the applications. Orca's also provided comments who have no concerns with the applications and have recommended that a planting plan be completed to be consistent with the growth plan. As well as Curd Lake First Nations has requested an archaeological assessment be completed. All those conditions are already reflected in the recommendation. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. I understand that Mr. Gadd was to be here as support, but I don't see him, Deputy Clerk.
Correct, Madam Chair. So we don't have anyone here to speak to this application.
All right, thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to A5820, please.
So the property owners are Douglas Rose and Sarah Bolden. The address is 610 Denny Lane in the Smith Ward. The application is seeking relief from the township's bylaw in order from the high water mark from 30 meters to 17.6 meters to a dwelling, as well as to increase the lot coverage of all buildings and structures from 20% to 21%. The property owners are proposing to redevelop the waterfront lot with the construction of an approximately 2,600 square foot two-story dwelling. They'll also include the replacement of an existing septic system and an expansion of an existing patio. The septic system will be outside of 30-meter setback, and we don't regulate patios, so the minor variance application is for the construction of the dwelling itself. So I have completed a review of the application, and I have noted that the application does meet with the general intent and purpose of the township's official plan and the zoning bylaw. As well, if the variance is desirable for the appropriate development or use of land, building, or structure, and it is minor in nature, and I have recommended the variances be granted. We have received comments from MTO and Peterborough Public Health, who have no objections. Permit is required to the health unit, as well as Orca's identified a permit is required, and they recommend a planting plan be completed in order to be consistent with the growth plan. And those conditions are also reflected in the recommendation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. I understand that Mr. Doug Rose is on the line. Is there anything that you wish to add to Jeanette's report?
No, I do not wish to add anything at this time, Madam Chair, and it's nice to meet you, committee. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone that had called in to oppose this application?
We have no one else here to speak to this application, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to A0121.
Thank you. So the property owner is Beverly Godden and the agent is Tom DeBoer. The address of the property is 1679 Greenwood Lane West in the Smith Ward. The application is seeking to increase the maximum lot coverage of accessory buildings and structures from 5% to 7.8%, and as well as to decrease the minimum setback from high water mark from 30 meters to 25.1 meters to a structurally non-permanent deck. These variances are required or being sought in order to allow for the construction of a structurally non-permanent deck to be located to the water side of the existing dwelling. So I've completed a review of the application. I do believe that the variance, that the application meets the general intention, purpose, the township's official plan and township zoning bylaw. The variance is desirable for the appropriate development or use of land, building or structure, and the proposed variance is minor in nature. And I have recommended the variances be granted. We have and the health unit who have no options. Orca has provided their comments and they have identified that a permit is required, as well as a planting plan has been recommended. Finally, Curb Lake First Nation has requested that an archaeological assessment be completed. If not, that is not included as a condition, as the house was constructed in 1967, which is considered recent construction, and as well as the deck can be constructed without significant soil disturbance occurring. So I have not included that as a condition. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. I understand that Mr. DeBoer, who is the agent, is on the line. Is there anything you wish to add, Mr. DeBoer, to the report?
At this point, I just want to thank everybody for their consideration of this file. And if there's any questions, concerns, I'd be more than happy to assist.
Thank you very much. And Deputy Clerk, was there anyone who called in to oppose this application?
We have no one else here for this application.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we will move on to A0221, please.
Thank you. This application, the owners are Bo and Deborah Barnett, and the address is 1911 Pratt's Marina Road in the Smith Ward. The application is seeking relief in order to decrease the front yard setback from 15 meters to 12.2 meters in order to construct a detached garage. The detached garage will be essentially in line with the existing structure, with the existing dwelling. The property, given the location of the existing dwelling, this is pretty much the only location that this garage can be constructed. And so I have completed a review of the application. I do believe that it meets the general intention purpose of the township's official plan and zoning bylaw. The variance is desirable for the appropriate development or use of land, building or structure, and the variance is minor in nature. And I have recommended that the variances be granted. We have received comments from MTO and Bureau of Public Health with no issues or concerns. Curb Lake has requested that an assessment be completed. The property was developed in 2003, and the garage is so close to the dwelling that I do not believe that it's necessary to have this completed. As well as Orca has provided comments, and they have no issues with the application. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Deputy Clerk, is there anyone here that is for or against this application?
We have no one here for this application.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to A0321, please.
Great, thank you. So the property owners are Andrew and Andrea Livingstone, and the property address is 1788 Gordon Fitzgerald Lane in the Smith Ward. The application is seeking relief from the township setback from high water mark from 30 meters to 21.5 meters to allow for an addition onto an existing dwelling, and as well as to decrease the front yard setback from 7.5 meters to 3.3 meters in order to allow for this construction to occur. The dwelling is sort of situated on an angle, and the dwelling already is approximately about just under 4 meters from the front lot line. So the 3.3 meters sounds like it's dramatic, but it really isn't. It's only probably about 6 inches closer, but it's given the orientation of the dwelling itself. And as well as the screen room won't be any closer to the high watermark setback than the existing dwelling. So I've completed a review of the application. I believe that the general intent and purpose of the township's official plan and zoning bylaw have been maintained. The variance is desirable for the appropriate development or use of land, building, or structure, and the variance is minor in nature, and I have recommended the committee grant the variances. We have received comments from MTO with no issues or concerns. Peterborough Public Health, who's identified a permit is required. The Conservation Authority has identified that no permit is required, but have recommended the planting plan be completed in order to be consistent with the growth plan. Curve Lake First Nation has requested an archaeological assessment. The addition that this screen room will be attached to is completed in 2016, which would be considered recent construction. So any soil disturbance would have occurred at that time, so that condition be added. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. And Deputy Clerk, is there anyone here to speak for or against this application?
We have no one here for this application, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Any questions? Donna.
Yes, for you to Jeanette. I was just wondering, does Curve Lake routinely request an archaeological assessment for every minor variance without looking at the specific details?
No, they really pretty much anything within the water, they'll request the archaeological assessment. I go through the checklist, and the checklist identifies recent construction as being from 1960 onward. And so when I go through that checklist that's provided by the ministry, that indicates that it'd be a no. Curve Lake First Nations they believe that one should still be completed. So there's a bit of a disagreement there, but I follow the legislation.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to AO 421, please, Jeanette.
Thank you. So the property owner is Hamad Badshaw, and the agent is Natula Ameri. The address is 2174 Cedarwood Lane in the Smith Ward. This application is seeking to increase the lot coverage of accessory structures from 5% to 6.2%, as well as to decrease the minimum setback from high water mark for 30 meters to 15 meters to a dwelling, and from 30 meters to 8.9 meters to a structurally non-permanent deck. This application will permit the redevelopment of a waterfront lot. They'll be demolishing an existing structure and rebuilding it in essentially the same footprint, a little bit larger, as well as 2 stories. And they'll be looking at constructing 2 decks. One will be on the main floor and one on an upper level. I have completed a review of the application, and I do believe that it meets the general intent and purpose of the township's official plan and zoning bylaw. The variance is desirable for the appropriate development or use land, building or structure, and the variance is minor in nature. So I do believe, or I have recommended the variances be granted. We have received comments from Ministry of Transportation with no issues. Peterborough Public Health, who has asked for or has identified that a permit is required, as well as ORCA, who has identified that a permit is required and requested or recommended that a planting plan be completed in order to be consistent with the growth plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Deputy Clerk, is there anyone that has registered for or against this application?
Yes, Madam Chair, we actually do have the agent in attendance.
All right, and Mr. Ameri, is there anything you wish to add to the report that's just been given? very vaguely.
Hi. I have heard the recommendations of the staff, and I support. And if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will now bring it to committee. Is there any questions from the committee? Anita?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Because it's so close, it's a waterfront lot. It does not require an archaeological assessment since it's new construction.
It's within the existing, like pretty much within the existing footprint. So the development of the property occurred, it was in 1947. But given that they're not really going too much outside of the existing footprint, it's more going upward. I don't think that it would be necessary to complete an assessment.
All right, are there any other questions? Seeing none, I need someone to move these applications, please. Donna, seconded by Anita. All in favor? That's carried, thank you. We have no deferred matters, no correspondence. The minutes of Committee of Adjustment for January the 19th. Andy and Anita, all in favor? It's carried. And a motion to adjourn, please. The next meeting's March 23rd. Jerry and Anita, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you.